welcome back to The Common Theory, the internet's #1 Magic the Gathering competitive Pauper Commander podcast, where we talk about playing with powerful yet cheap pieces of cardboard. Today, we are going to be talking about the most common mistakes that we make when we play.
Don't worry, I don't think anything can possibly go wrong.
We've made some pretty phenomenal mistakes, small and large. Some of them have cost us tournaments.
I mean, they're all. Some of them are streamed. Some of them are, just recorded in our diaries.
Mistakes. But first, before we get into it, Franklin, how have you been, man? How you doing today?
Doing all right. Just sick with the flu for like the past week, which has just been miserable. Everyone in the family got sick, but. Outside of that, mostly fine. Like, the weather's been great. Can't really complain. It's a nice holiday season. Everyone's, super happy.
Did your whole family go down after, Thanksgiving? Is that what happened?
Yeah, pretty much. I got sick first, and then my wife and my kid got sick. Fortunately, I recovered sooner before they did, so I can take care of them.
Yeah.
But, bro, how have you been, man?
Yeah, kind of the same. I didn't have the flu, but I was sick for almost 2 weeks after Thanksgiving with just a really nasty cold, and I injured my calf while running, and so
that's rough.
Yeah, it's just a bad sprain. It's not the worst, but it's also not great. For all you runners out there, you probably know it's just injury is just a part of the whole deal. So you kind of move on and you figure out other things to do while you heal. On the upside, it does mean that I get to play a lot of Magic. While I'm focusing on running, I instead am focusing on cardboard. So,
does that mean you actually get to play more in our Thursday night throwdowns?
Yes, it does.
And Sanctuary's Friday night Magics?
Yeah. I actually haven't played a Friday night Magic in a while, but this Friday, I actually do have some. I should be able to join, so that should be cool. We've been playing a lot on our Discord. For those of you out there who are listening who are not a part of it, check us out on Discord. We run games there all the time. We do a lot of deck discussion as well. But we've been having a lot of LFG games going off, which has been really cool. Pretty much every night of the week, which is really dope. I've been getting it on Mondays and Sunday nights, and basically if we're not recording, I'll try and get a game in or two. And been playing a lot of CDH as well. There's a lot of local tournaments in the New York area, so that's been really great. And I've just been, I've been brewing. I've got some things in the works that I just need my order of 250 hair appearances to come in the mail. Proxies.
Oh my god!
I'm not made of money.
No, but wow, I still need to get onto those too. Because at however much cool stuff has them at, I don't think I can afford it.
I think they're still sitting at $6 a card, so...
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. I don't want to spend $60 on just 10 of them.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, actually. I was at a local brewery here in Jersey City on this past Thursday, actually, playing some Commander, but also playing some CDH. And I was telling everybody, a bunch of people are starting to get into Pauper, or PDH. And so I was talking about it, and this one dude was like, dude, it sounds so sick. I checked out your podcast. I was like, oh, hell yeah. He's like, yeah, now I'm trying to build a deck. I'm building a hair apparent deck. But, man, it's really expensive. Are all the decks this expensive? I was like...
No, you just decided to pick the most expensive one to get in.
You literally picked the most expensive deck you could possibly make, man. Normally we pride ourselves on the cheap decks, but that's not... It's not the way to start if you're trying to build a $700 deck.
Christ, no. I think Scholar of Ages is probably $50 or 35 at most?
Yeah, oh yeah. And Dargo Kedis is $45, I think.
Oh, I had to order it recently. I think it was $100 after everything because of the Lotus Petal and a couple other small things.
Are you playing Snowlands?
No. No, but Snowlands are the only real expensive.
You don't but you don't have to play Lotus Petal. You can still have
I don't have to, but I should.
Confident deck. Yeah, yeah. For those out there who are just getting into the format, who are building decks, if Dark Kedis or any deck that plays the Lotus Petal speaks to you, the Lotus Petal is probably not the most important thing. And in that deck specifically, things like artifact lands, and there's other stuff and then other 0 mana artifacts that we're probably not playing the list work almost as
Oh yeah, like your bone saws and your
there's
ornithopters.
Yeah, you can even play like weird shit like a quarter shields, or like you can play like artifact creatures like Phyrexian Walkers and stuff. Today we're talking about some sore spots in our CPDH career, the mistakes that we have made over time, and we're gonna split it up into two lists actually for you. So we've got 10 mistakes, 10 common mistakes that we've narrowed it down to, but the first half are going to be sort of the more basic mistakes that we see a lot of people playing. I mean, we also make these mistakes.
I think we've ran into every single one of these at one point.
We're gonna have some examples for you of like mistakes that learned from our own careers of us making these very mistakes, and also like how to actually correct them and fix them, and what we've done to make sure that we don't make these mistakes again. P.S. I have certainly made these mistakes again. Magic is hard, right? Like, it's just a tough game. So, and then all right. So yeah, 2 halves: basic stuff, and then advanced concepts. So 5 mistakes that are definitely harder that people still make a lot, all the time, but they're harder to correct for, and they're harder to see. They're harder to understand that it was a mistake that you made in the first place.
Yeah, which is always super important to have post-game conversations with your opponents, like especially outside of tournaments when you're still practicing, and even in tournaments, if your opponents are super chilled enough, they'll just tell you immediately after, like, yeah, no, this is what you did wrong.
Yep. It's one of the benefits of playing on like a Discord server, especially, either whether it's our server or Sanctuary or Homebase or wherever, after your games are over, like you're all in the same chat room still. So like, just like ask people, don't be afraid to be like, hey, you guys have like 5 minutes to just like chat about how I could have played better. I think like you'll get a lot of really positive feedback if you do that. And 99%, I think, of players, unless they have something urgent, they have to bounce to go do something else. Well, at least a couple people in your pod are going to be able to hang out with you and tell you what's up.
Yeah, because you're going to have like 3 extra set of eyes on you trying to figure out what you're doing, and you're also paying attention to what other people are doing too. Yep. So you can pick up on other people's mistakes and just, again, how about with the conversation of, so I saw that you did this, so I'll let you know that one of the things we have is jumping priority. Or, Rohan, what kind of happened to you?
Yeah,
forgetting your play lines, which is number 1 on our list.
Let's get into it. With that said, let's get into it. So the very first thing on our list of the basic concepts. So this is sort of in order of how egregious or like how basic it is, how easy it is to fix maybe. But the number 1, like lowest hanging fruit, is forgetting your lines, aka not knowing your deck. Don't jump into a tournament without playing your deck at least a few times in person with people. Goldfishing it is great, but like, don't be like me and take a deck that you've only played once and goldfish maybe twice to a pretty major tournament. Like when I first took Malcolm Breaches to Riches to Rags in Philly earlier this year, and just absolutely bungled my first round in a horrible, horrible way. I like conceptually knew the lines. I read through the primers. I goldfished the deck, not enough. But like I knew the basic lines. I knew the very bare minimum, but I did not know all the lines.
It's always a super weird advanced lines that you're only ever going to do like once or twice in your life that always get you to.
Yeah, and it's like this includes not just knowing the lines, but also like knowing what to do in specific scenarios and situations, especially common ones. So like for me, for example, Malcolm Breaches, right? One of the combos with Malcolm Breaches is a non-deterministic combo with Breaches that allows you to ping your opponents. When you ping them with a pirate, you get to exile the top card of your opponent's libraries, and you can play that card. And then when you play that card, if it's depending on the type of pinger you have out that is a pirate, you can trigger the pinger again to do it again when you play an instant or sorcery or a non-creature spell. And if you also have Malcolm out, then you're also making treasures. So, in an ideal world, you're finding sort of instants and sorceries off of the top of your opponent's decks. You have Malcolm and Breaches out, and you play them. You play like one of your opponent's instants, and you get to basically draw off the top of their deck again and net 3 treasures, and you get to keep doing that until they're dead, right?
Yeah.
Sounds simple enough. I knew that conceptually, but you know what happens when your opponent's life totals are not all the same?
Yeah, the math just starts. Yeah, you start focusing too much on the math.
Someone dies, and then guess what? Then you're only flipping off of 2 people, and that might not be enough to finish your line. And it gets so much worse when you're just in a 1v1. So that is actually what happened. I was in the 1v1, and everything went out the window. I bricked. I was like, what do I do now? Oh my God. Because now I'll head up with the pinger, but it's only going to flip 1 card off the top. I'm screwed. Like, I just messed this up. And actually, I had at least 3 different ways to win that game in hand.
Jeez,
and I just didn't see any. I tunnel visioned. I didn't see any of them. And it's just because I didn't practice the deck enough. Like, I didn't know my deck well enough to know what to do in that scenario, which shame on me, because like, if you're playing the deck correctly, you almost always if you're playing that particular combo, you're always going to be in that scenario. You know, It's very rare where everyone's going to have the same amount of life. So you're always going to end up in the 1v1, and you have to know what to do in that situation. I just didn't think about it. I didn't train it. I didn't test it.
That's why I don't like Paragon Strongbow or Sunshine Militia in those Malcolm Red variants, because you have to hope to God that 2 opponents are at equal enough life, and that the last opponent is within a weird life total where your pinger can just get it.
Honestly, I actually don't mind them. I would do in a lot of games with them, but what I make sure to do if I'm using them and I know that the life totals are very disparate is to make sure before I go for the line, I have either multiple pingers on the field or other pingers in hand, and I can turn them all into pirates. Because if I have 3 pingers out, they're all pirates. Guess what?
Yeah, then it's
2 cards off the top of your deck, and I'm probably going to kill you.
Having 3 pirate pingers out in Malcolm is like nearly impossible to lose. And doesn't matter which types they are; it's nearly impossible to fizzle.
I could have gone for that and done that, but I didn't even think that was an out, right? Like,
yeah, because like very similarly, whenever I play Abdel, a big issue that I always tend to run into is I have Abdel out, or I have to cast Abdel this turn just to have blockers, right? Because that's the world we live in. But I have the Archaeomancer in hand. But I don't really have a way to get the Archaeomancer under Abdel. Or if I have a flicker, it's only 1 flicker. So I can't get the Archaeomancer under Abdel and then flicker it back out. Which is part of why Abdel hasn't really been doing so hot lately. That and like talking with House, who's been playing Abdel Black recently, he says, well, you're playing a 5-mana commander that has a giant signpost that says, interact with me right now.
Yes.
It's like, how would you combo off of random stray hits? Or with both of our stuff, it's like, we lost a piece midway through. How do you readjust?
It's funny. It's you're wearing the Marvel comic shirt. That kind of reminds me. I feel like when it's the 2 of us, we always take it back to fighting games. But like, if you're playing fighting game, right, especially like a game like Marvel vs. Capcom, you have to train how to convert off of a stray hit. If you can't convert off of any random stray hit, you're never going to win that game. You're never going to be a great player. Like, and you have to test all the different ways you can get, a stray hit. And sometimes they're really weird and really crazy. And you're like, oh, like I punched him in the air, but he was like kind of behind me. The great players know how to convert that into a kill. And I think like Commanders are really similar, right? Like, if you know your deck really, really well, you can capitalize on a lot of opportunities that lesser players would just miss.
Yeah, that's just playing to your outs and just knowing your deck better.
So yeah, that's number 1. You want to go ahead and take number 2?
Yeah, so with that, the best way to also practice your deck is hanging out with us over on Discord and playing on our Thursday night throwdowns, which we do every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern.
Yep, come hang out.
If it wasn't for my notes, I also would have totally missed that plug, which is the perfect segue to our next segment, Missing Triggers. I can't tell you how many times I've missed a Suture Priest trigger,
man. I feel
finger
like
triggers.
When we play a lot, Chris is like, Franklin trigger.
No, he would be like, no, he missed that trigger. You guys got to vote for it.
You'd be like, no.
I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, That's the nice thing about having a hard ass opponent like that. They will remind you that you missed your trigger and you can't get it back. That's the rough thing about like super nicer play groups. We're like, yeah, you miss triggers. It's okay. You'll let it happen. It's been 2 turns. That's okay. I'll lose a life for you. You're like, no. You gotta. As soon as I hear you say creature enters, I'll be like, nope, Suture Priest trigger.
Yep.
But honestly, Suture Priest is just one of those triggers that are just, everyone's going to miss. I don't care how long you've been playing this game, you will miss the Suture Priest trigger because your brain's like, over here. But the creature already entered, and it was a heir apparent, so there's 5 more heirs behind it.
States are hard, right? Like, there's so much going on, and you have to remember all these triggers. It's kind of crazy, but like,
yeah, I'd say to be fair, probably in person it's easier to remember. Because while playing on Mox, not Mox Show, on Spell Table, it's harder because because your eyes are looking at the at your playmat.
You're looking down, but you also have to look up. Yeah. In this format, it's like you mentioned the pingers, like a Suture Priest. It is really punishing to miss these little triggers that seem pretty insignificant. When I first started playing Dark Ketis, for example, there were numerous games when I first started playing that I lost by like 3 life. You know what I mean? Like my opponent was at 3 life or like less than 5 life. And that would happen a lot, especially it's just the nature of how that deck works because you're hitting everybody, right, simultaneously. So like the person who wins will always win by like a hair. And like at least 3 or 4 games that I just lost because that margin was the number of missed triggers that I missed.
Yeah, that actually happened recently between Gator and Aaron, where Aaron missed 2 Suture Priest triggers and Gator was alive by 2 life. Again, if you remember those triggers, Gator wouldn't have one.
It's a horrible way to lose a game, right? It feels so bad once you lose and you're like, oh no. Don't be that guy. Don't be us and feel horrible that you lost the game to yourself because you missed like 2 1-damage pinger triggers.
And we keep saying pinger triggers because that's honestly the most common one. If you're playing Wilson Far Traveler, it's kind of impossible to miss a Far Traveler trigger because that's literally the whole game plan. When I was playing Severus, I also made it a point to say in the middle of my turn, yes, this is a Cloakwood Hermit trigger, and I would have the scroll tokens off to the side ready. Yep. But it's just, again, saying something out loud to remind you that you have a trigger on the stack or you have a trigger ready to have.
I've seen a lot of Severus players miss the Cloakwood trigger.
Yeah, I can't play that deck that well, but that's one thing that I make sure that I always get my scrolls. I need those scrolls.
I've seen the scrolls get missed a lot, and it's actually highly relevant that they have those bodies in place as sack fodder for various things.
Between all the plunder effects and just activating Severus itself and just having additional blockers.
Yeah, if you miss scrolls, you can end up missing out on like necessary card advantage to interact with your opponents if you don't have the bodies to sack.
Yeah, this is going to be very specific to mostly Malcolm Red players, but whenever you have Ophidian Eye or Tandem Lookout on a pinger and you're just going nuts, I'll draw a trigger, but you forget your treasure triggers. That part just like gets annoying.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, because you have to manage 2 things at the same time, or when you're ticking up on the treasure triggers. Jesus Christ! And people are trying to interact with you as you're getting treasures, and people are saying, "Well, why are you getting treasures before the artillerist trigger happens? I want to interact." I'm like, oh my god, I have to remember that I'm still hitting people. So
yeah, don't miss your triggers in a format where quote unquote low power like ours, especially really because the life is much lower. Like literally every single point of damage matters.
Gator and Puzzle did an entire video on that over a year ago, which the card is up there.
Go back and watch it. We'll link it here. Number 3. Trigger finger, priority jumping. This is one that I feel like I've gotten a lot better at. It's one that I think comes with experience.
Yeah, it does. It also, like, the rest of the table playing properly and playing proper table police also just stops this from happening a lot. But not everyone's going to stop you.
Yeah, this is one that I see with newer players a lot, especially players who are new to Commander. But they were like, 1v1 players. And like, because it doesn't matter in 1v1, right? Your opponent's always just the one opponent. You get priority back and you do whatever you need to do and, it's fine. But, what I've seen in a lot of tournaments that I think defines better players from lesser players is the better players know when to sit back, with their interaction, while newer players will often be like, they'll either telegraph their interaction, they will blurt it out to the table that they have something, too soon, or they'll just like slam it down on the table. First player's trying to pop off, and they're in seat 3, and they'll, before, player 2 has the chance to say anything, they'll be like, counterspell.
And as player 4, I'm like, cool. Good thing I'm all the way over here. Thank you, player 2, for letting me know that you have interaction.
Yeah.
And player 3 just blew it.
And even worse, like the worst thing that happened, I see this all the time too. This is a very common situation, especially in tournament play. They're like, counterspell. And then player 2 or player 4 is going to be like, hey, wait a second. Hold that. It's cool. Let them do this isn't the time to interact. This is often me, I'm like, just wait, just chill. Let's see what they do. We don't need to interact now, but, we'll just wait. And I know that you have that, use it later. And like, if you're able to, like a better player, if they're able to do that to the priority jumping player, it's almost as if they just gained +1 free counterspell in their hand.
They did, because they already revealed it.
They literally just got a Fierce Guardianship in a format that does not have Fierce Guardianship. And if it was in our format, it would be the best damn card in the whole format.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Again, this having good table mates just prevents it from happening. That, and like, if you do it a lot, you won't.
You'll stop doing it eventually.
You'll just stop doing it after a while. Don't worry. It comes with time. Playing at first, I was like, jump priority. But that's more, that's just switching over from, casual over to more competitive.
Oh, yeah.
So it just happens to everyone.
I used to do it all the time. I mean, my first CPDH deck is a Guild Mage, which is literally just interaction.deck. It's like, I think it plays like 35 or 36 instants, right? Like,
Jesus.
Just a ridiculous amount. And I was just so eager to be like, I'm doing stuff. I can copy it.
Yeah. The only thing that's super annoying is whenever the not active player is popping off. So let's say it's player 1's turn, right? But player 3 is going to win. So technically, player A gets priority first. So then it's 1, 2, 4, right? So that's how the round of priority goes. It's a player C is like trying to win. So it's player 1, player 2, and then player 4 at the end.
Wait, what? You're saying player 3 is trying to pop off?
Yeah, if player 3 is like trying to win. But it's player 1's turn.
Player 1, player.
Like, they're the active player.
Oh, and player 3 is trying to win instant speed on player 1's turn?
Yeah, which is happening a lot more often in this format, which makes me really happy, actually.
It would still go, priority would pass after the last, like, the player 3, if they're trying to go off, would pass priority to player 4 still.
Yeah, because, again, that happened at a CDH tournament where we're saying, oh, no, it's their turn, so they get priority first after you pass priority. I was like, weird, but okay, whatever. That's what the judge says, so I'll go with whatever the judge says.
Don't slam your interaction down willy-nilly. Don't get overexcited. Chill. Just sit back. We'll get to threat assessment in a little bit. But if you truly don't know, like if you are unsure, rather, it's always okay to ask. Maybe don't give away what you have in your hand, but you feel free to ask your other players at the table, like, hey guys, do we interact here? Is this the right time to interact with what they're doing? We'll get to basically what it comes down to not talking enough in a little bit. But before we get there, we have number 4.
Yeah, which is something that I do all the time, even though I keep thinking I've gotten better about it. I mismanage my mana way too much. Because like the other day, I was playing Malcolm Kedis. My entire hand is full of blue spells. Sure, I barely have any treasures left. I was like, yeah, I'll tap all 3 of my islands to play this one blue. To play this one blue spell? I think I slammed down like a Trinket Mage, and then I was like, crap! I have to rely on the treasures to pay for.
Oh no!
To pay for everything, yeah, to play for my blue mana, And all the interaction I had, again, and all the cards in my hand were blue. I was like, this sucks. I have Simeon Spirit Guide in hand, so I can make red whenever I want.
Brutal.
Fortunately, I did need to make the extra blue mana in case of someone interacted with me, and I just still managed to win. But if I just kept the blue open instead of, tapping everything down and only leaving a mountain open, I would have just felt a lot better. That and whenever I'm playing Abdel Blue, again, because that deck only runs 7 white lands in total. Sure, there's a whole bunch of colored mana rocks, but you only have 7 7 lands. I always mess up. I always end up tapping the lands all wrong. So again, I don't have enough mana to play the correct flicker I have in hand.
I also used to tap my lands poorly. The one thing that really helped me fix that, though, is playing a lot of competitive 60 card Pauper. And if you tap your mana wrong in that format, you will be punished so damn hard. You will lose every game until you start tapping your lands better. Otherwise, it's just the margins are they're razor thin. One little mistake and you just lose. You'll never make that mistake again. My recommendation is play 60 cards. Whether it's modern or standard or whatever.
I just wish I had time for that.
Play an arena. I do recommend if you're really, really serious about competitive EDH, whether that's Pauper EDH or CEDH, I do recommend playing a decent amount of 60 card. Not a ton, but play a few games a week, and it'll really help you hone tapping your lands and sequencing your turns correctly.
Yeah, although I think on Arena, you have to turn off auto tap.
I play on MTGO. I don't play on Arena. But
yeah, I boot up Arena once a year. Yeah, on MTGO, I think it forces you every single time you play anything.
You have to choose, wisely. Yep.
Yeah, I still need to get an MTGO account. I've been meaning to for the past 20 years.
It's a fun time. But yeah, it's just good training. And it just helped me think about my you only have, when you're playing 60 card, and all you 60 card grinders out there, you are familiar with this, but you can only think about your turn on your opponent's turn. You don't have a lot of time to think about what your choices are. And if you're playing specifically on MTGO, there's a chess clock. So you're playing against the clock, so you have to play quickly. You have to make your decisions quickly. And that's just great training for competitive Commander games where, you have the luxury now of thinking about your turn through your other three turns, which is a lot of time. So you should have no excuse, on what you're doing on your turn and how you're tapping your mana and how you're sequencing it. You should know when it gets to your turn, boom, boom, boom. I know exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, things might have changed, as the turns go on. You should be working through what you're doing on your opponent's turns for sure.
Yeah, I think I also just manage my land stack super weird too. So that's probably the problem.
Oh yeah, make sure your lands are clear too. I think another part of that is that I see people, at least in paper tournaments, is that they get nervous, they get anxious, and they just kind of they just tap really quickly instead of taking their time. It's you don't need to don't know what you're doing, know your decisions, right? You know what decision you're going to make, but then take the time to place your card and look at your lands and tap them in an organized, careful manner, as opposed to just going ham and not knowing, making a mess of your situation, of your board state, and that will lead you to tapping incorrectly because you're just trying to take your turns quickly, and then you tap your for your colorless pips incorrectly, where you needed that one color for interaction on someone's turn and lost the game.
Yeah, maybe we should just do an episode that's just on proper battlefield management.
Cleanliness? Is this a Marie Kondo episode?
Yeah, just keep all of your lands in one area, all of your creatures in another, all of your artifacts in one place, and all of your enchantments in another.
We're gonna get some comments from the weird lands in front people.
Oh no, good thing those people are banned. According to WotC, they're banned, so we don't have to worry about them. They're not real people.
Technically, if you put your lands in front, someone could call you out on it in a tournament and DQ you.
Yeah, unless if they're playing was it Dryad Arbor Tribal?
You're not playing CPDH. You're doing that.
Yep.
I don't even know what format that would be.
Yeah, so I guess that leads into the next segment, not talking enough.
Yeah, which we were kind of talking about before, right? When we were talking about priority jumping, and if you're unaware of like when to interact, and one of the common things that I've seen is like someone not knowing like what is going on in someone else's board state, but then they just stay quiet. The other thing that I've seen is like they know someone is about to do, or they think that someone's about to pop off or about to do something, and they're assessing the threat correctly. And they're like, in your head, you're like, oh yeah, that is a problem. I feel that is a problem. But they're too scared to say something because they don't want to like, I don't know, like they don't want to like catch the ire of the table.
Or I don't know. It's probably just that, or they just don't want to look stupid, which
don't want to look stupid. Yeah.
Which is fine, but that's why you ask questions to know.
And that's fair. But like, it's a social format, and like, look, guys, like this format has like the nicest people that I've ever played against, and almost everyone is extremely forthcoming and like is very, very, very chill, and like 95, let's say, % of people are going to be like either you're right that you're assessing that correctly, or they're gonna be like I don't feel that way, and here's why. Or they'll maybe ask you why you feel that way, but they're gonna be like super cool and chill about it. So yeah, don't be afraid. Like if you feel like someone is doing something that seems dangerous, and you're like, oh, I don't like that, but you don't exactly know why, or you don't exactly know how to maybe communicate that, like say something, right? It's like in the New York subway all the time. See something, say something, right?
Nah, I'm not going to tell that robot anything.
Yeah, you see someone drop a shady bag in the subway. You go and say something about that weird bag, right? Like it's probably someone left some poop in that bag, right? The whole subway.
Oh my god, right? It's probably a rat bag too.
Take care of it. Yeah, if you think that something's up, but someone is either about to go for it or they feel like a threat, say it or ask. One of the two, right? Good.
Yeah, I was gonna say like probably another important thing is this. If you don't know where the pinch point of a combo is, ask the other two opponents because one of them should know.
Yes, probably. At least if you're in a tournament, chances are that one of the people at the table know like what the other deck is doing. So you can patch up your matchup knowledge, which we're going to talk about also, with the other players at your table. And I feel like that is also something that isn't done nearly enough. Not nearly enough. And it's something I do. Like I do it all the time. Asking, like, you don't need like being talkative at the table doesn't mean playing like quote unquote playing politics. It could just mean asking questions. And I think that's like a really, really fair sort of egalitarian way of like quote unquote playing politics. It's not even politics. You're just like, hey, table, what do we do about this? Or hey, y'all, what do you think about this? What if I do this? Like if I do this, would you guys stop me here? Would you stop this? Like, and then you can engage in a discourse. Like if let's say you're not actually going for it, but you're playing something that you think might be scary. I play Malcolm, right? This happens all the time with Malcolm. I want to play Malcolm, but I know that I'm not going to go for it. Not only am I not going to go for it, but I'm probably not going to go for it for like 3 turns. I will be like, hey, y'all, I want to run out my Malcolm. Are you guys going to do anything about that? Is that cool? Like,
no, most of the time they're like, oh, you better not save Wings of Elspho immediately after.
And I'll be like, no. No combo. I don't have pingers out. And I'll be very clear. I'll be like, I need these pieces to go off. These are my combos. I don't have any of that on the field. Interact with me later when I have those things. Feel free to remove them. Like I'm just trying to get him out there. No shenanigans. And for most of the time, unless someone's just like has some like major PTSD about Malcolm, which happens, are gonna be like, it's fine. Malcolm resolves. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, whenever like I feel I'm in a situation like that, I'm just like, hey, I'm just gonna cast Malcolm. I kind of need some extra mana to help cast all the spells I have in my hand to help protect the rest of the table in case of that guy decides to pop off.
This kind of dovetails nicely into the first advanced concept, which it's very linked to not talking enough. It's sort of the other side of that coin of like patching up your matchup knowledge by talking to the table. So number 6, but number 1 under advanced concepts is not knowing your matchups. So while you can and should absolutely talk to your table about other people's board states, about what other decks are doing, about how to assess, the threat correctly, ideal world, you should really be coming to the table with that knowledge yourself.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I wouldn't say that's impossible to do. It's just you need to give a lot of time into this format to study.
And that, Kunx, is why it's an advanced concept.
Yeah, and I mean,
just bring to the table. This is you're following the meta. You're chatting with people on the Discords, right? You're coming to our,
our Thursday night throwdowns,
right? Water cooler chat on the Common Theory Discord. You can come there and just hear people talk. You don't have to say anything. You can just hear people talk about their decks and what they're doing. It's really just that's kind of a lot of that's being part of the community and knowing what the decks are, and also it's playing tournaments and seeing what decks are doing well, and then looking at the deck lists and a lot of other players, very, very serious players who want to really perform well, will goldfish your opponent's decks, goldfish the decks that are performing really well at tournaments, recently, and understand the lines of your opponent's decks. You don't have to goldfish their decks to understand the lines. A lot of
but it helps out a lot.
It helps a lot. If you're really serious and you're really trying to spike a tournament, you should definitely be doing that. But even just reading through their deck lists, and if there's a primer, even better. Just read through the primer.
Yeah, because I think recently there has been a Tainted Observer list that's been playing a lot on the FNMs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's always funny hearing how people don't know what the deck does yet.
Yeah.
But I've seen it play multiple times. I'm as soon as they hit who was it? Brute Scale, Baskin Brute Scale, and was it an Alter Dimension? Alter Dimension.
Alter Dimension. Not in this format.
No, and Ashnod's Altar. I'm that's it. It's over.
It's over.
They won't never see it coming. But it's a super cool deck.
There's actually a lot of layered combos in that deck.
That's the thing. Unless you're talking to these pilots a lot, or you're just interacting with the community, some people just never know what any of the layer combos are in any of the new decks that come up this year.
Yeah, another thing that can help here, obviously time is finite, but I mentioned playing 60 card before. This is something that's helped me really know the cards that are the actual combo pieces in the format. Is playing 60 card Pauper, and a lot of the combo decks in 60 card Pauper have an analog in Commander. So there a lot of the cards that you see that are combo pieces, most of the combo pieces that you see in our format have an analogous deck in 60 card Pauper.
Yeah, isn't that really convenient when we share a card pool with another 60 card format?
Yeah. Obviously, the commanders don't exist, so there are things that the commanders are combo pieces in the command zone can facilitate that don't exist. But most of the time, there is a common version of that. It probably really sucks. It's probably some 5 or 6 mana card or something, right? In 60 card, but it exists. The deck is out there. It exists. It's doing things. So that can also help just learn the combo pieces and what could potentially be a combo piece, at least the most popular ones.
Yeah, because I think was a Commander Spellbook has a pretty decent website for Pauper Commander combos.
Yeah,
I know House is working on a Moxfield deck list himself for it, which I will ask House, and I'll put the link in the description to just kind of help people walk out what some of the more common combos and their variants are.
And I was going to say the same thing. You don't need to know all the combos, and you don't need to know all the lines. You should absolutely be familiar with the most common ones, what the pieces are that make that work.
Yeah, all the freed variants, all of the type changers with all the pingers. I think the only complicated line we will really have is just how Tidal Bore works.
Yeah, that's important. Tidal Bore, and then the untapper combo, the tap untap stuff Pilipala,
Banishing Knack,
the blue one blue mana instant retraction helix that.
Yeah, Banishing Knack and retraction helix.
Yeah. the horseshoe crab lines, like that kind of stuff. Like no,
Yeah, but I feel like the horseshoe crab line and vanishing act lines have been around for so long.
but it's important to know them, right? Like
Yeah.
it's fun. It's they've been. See, here's the thing: they've been around for a long time, but they're not in a lot of decks. They're not very common. So like you might come across like some rando is a deck in a tournament, that's playing that particular combo and be like, oh, Philly Paul's a weird, cute creature. It's not doing anything.
Oh, you know what? Fair, because during because like last year, I guess earlier this year, when we were playing Malcolm Arden, I was like, how does the Philly Paulo line work? You're only making 1 mana.
Yeah,
and then there was,
Viridian Longbow, Philly, that doesn't do anything. Like that, these are bad cards. I don't care about this.
no, and then I realized, oh, that's right. I forgot when it untaps, it makes a mana. When it hits something, it makes a mana. That's the 2 that you need.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm an idiot. I just didn't realize it.
And then by the time you realize it, it's like too late. It's like we're dead.
Oh no, this was like just talking about the deck. I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. How does this work? I know it wins. I just don't know how.
Yeah. So like, knowing your opponent's lines before you even get to the table, pretty critical if you're trying to perform well in the format at like a higher level.
Yeah, because if not, you're gonna like shoot off your removal way too early, which is our next segment.
Hey, Kunx.
Yeah, what's up, Rohan?
Dude, check this thing out, man. It is the Arcane Fortress Radiant 100 Plus Deluxe deck box.
Wow, that looks really cool.
Yeah, man. It's deluxe because not only does it hold a full commander deck, and yeah, that's double sleeved.
Wow, double sleeve? That's amazing.
Yeah, best believe. With Rune to Spare, by the way. But it has this really sick dice box here it's actually kind of hard to detach because the magnets are pretty strong. It's like it's really on there. I mean, I don't know if you can hear it.
Wow, that is really tough.
It's on. Yeah, it's really solid on there. Let me open it up here. And there's magnets that close the lid even. It's like the attention to detail is off the chain. We've got some.
Wow, that's a lot of room for dice.
Yeah. Also, I mean, the coolest part about it is look at this artwork, dude.
Yeah, that's some beautiful artwork. I think, according to them, I remember hearing that that's the company that uses a lot of real good artists, a lot of real artists for the products.
Who did this art? So it's beautiful stained glass, lotus art. Actually matches my Tameshi Lotus Bloom tribal deck quite well. Also, the art is repeated on these really nifty separators. You can see.
Wow, and you get separators with the deck box?
They're really thick, and they're not plastic. They're like a leather or leatherette material, and they're like kind of flexy, and like they're really substantial, and they're soft. So like they're not going to scratch your cards or mar your nice sleeves and all. Yeah, it's been pretty sweet. I've been jamming my main CDH deck in this box for the past couple weeks now, and
that's great. So it holds about 100 double sleeve cards, which I think turns out to be like about 133 single sleeve cards and like 80 triple sleeve cards too.
Yeah. If you're down with that lifestyle, the triple sleeve lifestyle for your legacy and your vintage decks,
it's just amazing premium materials, including the nanofiber exterior. That's durable and feels great to the touch. Where would we get it?
You can get one through our affiliate link right on the YouTube link that you're seeing right below. So click that link, use the affiliate code, and get
5% off.
5% off. Yeah.
Just mistiming removal, either using it way too early when it didn't matter, main phasing it, or what I've seen, and it's happened to me too many times, accidentally using it way too late.
Yeah, so this is like our number 7 and our number 8. We're kind of combining into one. But like using your removal too early, number 7, using it too late, number 8. But like it's different than priority jumping. Priority jumping is like when you're just like too eager to just throw your interaction on the table, right? Like you don't care, you are not waiting, you're just impatient. This is a little different. It's not being impatient per se. It's just spending it at the wrong time. So you have successfully gotten priority. Priority has been passed to you, and you chose to interact with the wrong thing.
Or the right thing, but it's way too early.
Or the wrong time. Right. Or the right thing at the wrong time. Yeah. I mean, I think an example of this that I see, honestly, all the time, and I'm like, I'll give you 2 examples, actually, because I see this all the time. All the time. The first is with Gretchen or Laylord X. I see people kill the untapper the moment that it's played. Like, untapper gets played, and they're like, okay, on your own step, lightning bolt.
And they're like,
okay. Sure.
Or they'll go like, I have no land auras, and I'm just not going to be able to make that much, but okay, cool.
They're like, that's fine. I only have 15 of them in the deck. Yeah.
Or worse, or like you go, or you try to blow it up, or they blow it up like instantly, and you're like, I didn't have a way to win yet. Let me just do my best Gate impression for a second. Why would you blow up the Malcolm? You have to use the Malcolm player to help you out with the rest of the table. The Malcolm player there is your friend.
Yeah, and they're like, no, I'm going to kill Malcolm.
I have no type changers visible on board. I barely have any cards in hand, so I don't know what you're scared for.
You know what happens? Malcolm still wins because they spent their interaction, and then 2 turns, maybe not next turn, but 2 turns later, the Malcolm player has enough mana now to cast Malcolm, cast Fireweaver, waste a spell. Like,
yeah, again, if that interaction was used properly and at the right time, the entire table could have joined together and be like, all right, you pop off first. 2 people use removals at the same time, because usually most good decks in this format can fight through 1 or 2 pieces of interaction.
Yeah,
the third one's like nearly impossible to have.
Yeah, and I think this what I'm seeing in when that happens is like, I know I've been talking about how people should play 60 card. This is the one example where people take 60 card to heart too much. They play a lot of 60 card, and they're like, all right, I'm going to tempo you out. Tempo works in 1v1. It does. Totally works. You can slow down your one other player, but you cannot tempo out the whole table.
No, it's impossible. No one in this format or in any multiplayer format will ever have enough resources to ever do that.
Well, I disagree. In EDH, regular EDH, with the bigger card pool, there are ways to somewhat tempo out your opponents, but you're using stacks pieces to do that.
Yeah, fair.
You know? So there are ways to stack your opponents down in a way that you are breaking parity on stacks piece. You are actually slowing down everybody by a turn, half a turn to a turn, while you are not. That is actual tempo play. That's real. We don't have that in this format for the most part. Phyrexian Censor, it exists. Gator might argue that can actually play tempo, but it's not a blue deck, so I'm going to say probably not. But yeah, we don't have real stacks pieces. We just don't, you know? So like when you play like a bounce spell, you know, on like a combo piece way early, it
doesn't do anything. They'll just replay it.
Potentially just lost the game for the whole table because you wasted that crucial piece of interaction that was necessary for the turn that you pop off that you needed to have in hand. Or it's something that you needed to have in hand to protect your own win that you no longer have and now you cannot win. So that is poor play. And like, to be honest, when I win games, that's probably the number one reason why I am winning, is because people use their interaction against me poorly. They either bounce or kill my stuff way too soon, or the alternative flip side to that is they waited way too late. You know, they were just too cautious. So that's the other side of this coin. That's why this is hard, right? It's an advanced concept for a reason. They waited too late, and now I have all the resources in the world. I mean, Kunx, you've seen this happen.
Yeah, funny enough, that's what happened recently in a Thursday night throwdown game where Melik got to untap, and the Hollow Marauder player totally forgot that Melik can play cards off the top.
Oh, only the thing that it says on the card.
Yeah.
Weird.
So Melik just untapped and had all the available mana to just play the counter spell that was off the top before they drew into it. But had they just done it on their end step, probably would have been a different game.
Yeah, and I think like The using it too early thing is definitely easier to fix than waiting too late.
Yeah, that's just having better discipline.
And it's also, it's not just discipline. I would say that it's also just knowledge of your. It kind of ties back into the knowing the matchup thing. It's like you also need to know how your opponent's cards work. So it's like generally the rule of thumb I would say is like wait as long as you can wait before it's too late to use it, right? And it's like when is it too late to use it? Well, if you know that they have interaction in hand, or they have like they're sitting there with 7 cards in hand or more, and they're going to untap with 10 lands.
That's probably way too late.
Probably too late.
That's the only problem, because like when they untap, you just have to force them to use their protection spells, right? But the entire table has to back you up on it.
That's hard, right? Like that also kind of ties back into like the talking piece, where like you can mitigate that by trying to convince the whole table to hold on to their interaction for the turn that they pop off. It's just that's when things start really getting challenging, but it's also probably the most fun part of the game.
Yeah, it is. It all comes down to also like our next segment of mistiming your tutors. Yeah, because one big tutor that we have that it's kind of know when to actually use it as a tutor or as an interaction spell is Muddle the Mixture. Mm-hmm. Muddle grabs like pretty much every single winning card in like every single blue spell. Was it every single blue deck? Because it either grabs a flicker, type changer.
Muddle has got to be one of the hardest cards to use properly in this format.
Yeah, because I recently just used it and just held on to it as like a counter spell, as a protection piece. It's one of those things where like I don't see too many people actually use it as a counter spell, because everyone just uses it as a 3-mana tutor.
Yeah, even though I think the way that you're using it is probably the more correct way. I see it as a counter spell with a tutor upside instead of a tutor with a counter spell upside. It's probably the correct way to use it. I mean, all the transmute tutors are just super hard to use. Like, I mean, even non-transmute tutors like Merchant Scroll, they're really tough to time properly, because like we were talking about this earlier, but like I've been in this situation a lot where it's like early game, I had Muddle in hand, my starting hand. Great card. It's an awesome card.
Yeah, it's an amazing
really,
card.
Really powerful card in the format. Unaccountable tutor, right? But turn 3, I can rip my Muddle off turn 3 and probably not transmute with it on my turn. Probably not have to worry about someone trying to win on the next turn. I mean, like, yeah, sometimes like Laylor, Gretchen, some of these decks can pop off turn 4, but like for the most part, for most tables that I sit at, I'm not too worried about someone popping off on turn 4. So it's like I could rip this for free and go find my combo piece, right? And especially like if I have like a Reckless Fire Weaver in hand, and
that's just so tempting at that point.
It's so tempting, right? Reckless Fire Weaver in hand, and I'm hitting my land drops, and I've got like an Arcane Signet out or something, right? Like I've got ramp, I'm hitting my land drops, and I've got the main combo out and a Muddle. Like, it is really tempting. Like, as soon as I have the 3 mana to transmute for the wings or for the 2-mana type changer, and then just try and win the next turn. However, that is an extremely risky play, especially if I don't have any other way to cover, my combo. If I have no other protection, or even just one piece of protection, it is really risky, because if that gets blown out on that next turn, potentially out of the game.
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah, Muddle is just one of the hard ones. Shred Memories also like has a pretty good mode on it too.
Oh yeah, especially we have a lot of graveyard decks right now.
Yeah, but I think we're kind of missing the point, and I'm sorry about that. But just signaling to the table that you're going for the win or you're going for the combo piece is also just
so risky.
So risky, especially depending on like how good the other decks at the table are and how well they mulliganed to you is whether or not that was actually ever worth the risk or not. Because like the only tutor I know I can get away with that is probably step throwing for either a type changer or step throwing for an actual wizard.
Because it's instant speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes step through so incredibly good. Yeah. I rarely see people actually make a win happen if they tutor or they transmute tutor the turn before. It rarely happens. And when it does happen, it is almost always that they got extremely lucky.
But yeah, because everyone just goes, nope, I don't have it. I guess I'll just tap out anyway.
But I dare say that it's usually the incorrect play unless you have an overwhelming amount of interaction and mana up, obviously, and you can like cover that. Sure, go for it. If you're already basically winning, and you know that you're just so far ahead of everybody else, sure.
Yeah, I think the only deck that can probably get away with that is Gretchen tutoring for a Borrow Breeze Color.
Yeah,
because that combo doesn't require a board. It does require a board save, but it doesn't require a creature.
It requires a certain amount of enchantments on your lands, like quite a lot, actually. Yeah, I rarely see it work out well. The times that I see the transmute tutors work properly, or like tutoring for your combo piece properly, is the same turn that you're trying to pop off, because you're able to generate a very high amount of mana, whether that's through treasures or through High Tide or
Bubbly Muck.
Or it's like free. Yeah, you have infinite, and you're using your tutor to find your out. Sure, like all of that. Fine, like that's when I see it work best. But like, yeah, I think mistiming the tutors is definitely an advanced concept, and it really blows people. Like when it's done improperly, it blows you out.
Yeah, it honestly does. Because again, your signal. It's funny because we say that telegraphing your combos isn't too much of a problem because in this format, everyone has to telegraph their stuff. But this is like super telegraphing.
Yeah. So like advancing your board state, is less of a problem, but telegraphing the last piece of your combo is a huge problem.
Yeah, unless if you're like a weird, insane person who's just like, I'll just tutor for a sec for a redundant piece. So when they counter it, they won't expect the real one.
So that's something that I do all the time, actually. That is something that I've done quite often, or using the tutor to find something as a bait. Yeah, like when you can like start playing into people's fears and using that against them, that is like a high level concept that tends to work quite well, actually.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Just for one more thing, here's another high level concept. If someone plays a Aether Spellbomb, just run into it. Force them to use a Spellbomb. What are they going to do? Not use it? They're already going to pop it anyway.
Yeah, if we can add an 11th bullet, I would say it's like that is playing scared. Don't play scared.
I mean, it works out for like 2 people in this format, but
yeah.
It just doesn't. It's not good.
Yeah,
because I've seen people play scared so many times, and they just start blowing resources left and right.
If someone has interaction, force them to use it. All right, I think we can move on to the very last thing now.
No, I think that's actually the perfect segue to our last.
Yeah, it's misreading politics. So this one is, if there's like an extra advanced concepts tier, this would probably be in there. It's one of the hardest things, right? Like, not talking enough is fine. That's something that everyone can do better, and you don't have to do a lot. Like asking questions to the table is immediately doing better. But if someone is trying to cut deals with you, you're not going to get like just stonewalling on interacting with your opponents in any, verbally in any given way. It's not going to work out well for you. Not if you're trying to play this format at a high level or any, competitive commander format at a high level. Just being like, I don't politic, I don't talk at the table. Things aren't going to, you're not going to hit that like 25-30% plus win rate by doing that, by stonewalling. You need to be able to interact with your fellow players. You need to be able to work together to stop threats. It is like a team game in a way, and you have to be able to work with your table and understand the dynamics and know how to work with the table. So yeah, so when that's happening to you, you need to be able to basically threat assess the words of your opponents. When they are asking you for a deal, when they're asking you not to interact with them on a certain piece, or they're asking you to intervene on their behalf on someone else's board, like you need to be able to really put yourself in their shoes, know what they're trying to get out of you or what they're trying to get out of this interaction with you, and assess that correctly to make the proper choice of whether to actually do what they're asking you to do or to be like, no, I think this is like the incorrect time. I think we should do this next turn, or we should wait,
Yeah.
or do it whatever, some other time.
Yeah, because like for at least for me and Aaron, because I like to think that we're both fairly similar in the fact that we both don't really politic too much and we don't really talk too much during games. Because whenever someone asks us like to do something, we're always just like, you kind of don't wanna. You can do it. You have the answer. Or like, or what happens to me a lot lately is I just look at the table. I'm like, does this actually bother me? Not really. I'll let it happen. And that messes up those people so badly too. They're like, no, we expected other people to be responsible for me.
Well, I've seen the opposite happen too, though. So this is why this is difficult, right? Like where I've been like, look, I've got nothing. You need to interact here, or we're going to lose on the next turn. And they're like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold this back. And I'm like, you cannot let them untap. You need to interact now on the end step here, because if they untap, they have, they probably have this, and this in hand. You're not going to get through. We're going to lose this game. And they're like, nope, I'm good. I'm going to wait and see. I'm like, okay. And then we lose.
Yeah, again, that's just one of the times where just like everyone should have just fought together. But
you just lose, So, yeah, the misreading the politics part is also obviously like very directly associated with proper threat assessment, directly associated with knowing your opponent's decks. But like doing your best to suss out what your opponents are telling you or asking from you, but like put yourself in their shoes. Like look at it from their viewpoint. Like try to envision what their hand could be. Like try to envision the worst case scenario of what their hand might be. Of like, okay, if they have their winning combo in hand and they're telling me that they don't have this, then what should we do at this point? Like, what would I do if I was in their shoes right now playing that deck?
Yeah, it's hard to do. It's super rough, especially when someone's trying to politic with you and you just look at their board and you're like, you have pretty much combo in hand. So, like, I could just tell. Like, your board state's all set up. You have like a million cards in hand. If I stop the next player from winning, but you win, what incentive do I have to even stop either one of you?
Yeah, and like being able to like counter, like to like create. This kind of goes back to like our not talking too much, but like in that situation, then a better player, a better commander player, not necessarily a better magic player, but a better commander player might try and create the insurance by coming up with a deal. They're like, okay, fine, promise me that you will not go off or you will not play this type of card. Like if they're talking to me, and they might say, all right, if you do not play your type changer on, in the next round, you may have it. Do not play it. If you don't play it, I will interact here.
Yeah, I guess that's better politics like that. Because like in the games that we play down here in Miami and online, we rarely ever get deals like those. Most of the time, it's just like you're gonna die. That's it.
Yeah,
that's how far politics usually goes. Like you stop this or we die.
That's fair. It's just that when I don't really. I only experience those types of things when I play with the people who, in this format, who win a lot. That's like when if I play with like Ryan or I play with Gator, or Bobby, or there's like, or Ank, there's like a few of these players who, if I play at a table with them, they are unafraid to say those types of things, to make those kinds of deals, to like, and it's more like, yeah, it's like, if you do this, then I'll do this. Or if you don't do this, then I'll do this. Like being unafraid to do that. And a lot of other players might be like, that's scummy, that's politicking, that's dirty or whatever. But like, it's just math. Like those players win more games than you because even if those deals don't get made in the game, maybe they don't get made in every game. But even if someone makes those deals in some games, or at least putting that out there, it's just another tool that they have in their quiver, apart from the cards in their hand, that if you aren't making those types of deals, or even putting that out there, or considering them, or even just like talking in a way to like work with the table to do something to gang up on the threat, then you're going to lose more than the people who are doing that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Fact.
Yeah.
It's fact. Shout outs to like, some of the CDH grinders out there, like Ian, comedian, on YouTube. That's something that I know feels really strongly about. It's like something that he's like that's something that not enough people do. And like all the best players are doing that. One thing that I've been doing a lot more recently is, and it's really been helping me out, is being unafraid to show cards that I have in hand to certain players at the table, especially when dealing with a threat, being like, hey, I'll be like, hey, Kunx, I've got this, and slide you a card. Like, I can interact in this particular way. However, a counterspell here would be really great.
Yeah, and I'll just like, holding priority. I'm going to take a peek at the rest of your hands.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I just love peek and probe.
Yeah. Yeah. There's our.
I mean, that's also part of why like Gator always says like, oh, we should probably start running duress and just force people to reveal the rest of their hands.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big conversation right now in the CDH community about what is that card? It's a black card. It's like 1 Phyrexian mana to like exile a card into someone's graveyard, and then like all the cards in their deck with the same name.
Surgical extraction.
Surgical extraction, yes, right. There's a big conversation right now of whether that's like a good card, whether it's like a valuable card. And actually, I've been seeing like locally. I've been seeing it.
Does it hit all opponents?
No.
Does it hit
one opponent? But
okay.
like for example, we have a Krark-side player locally, and Krark. If you play with Krark, you can double it. So you're getting, it's just like another gift probe, basically.
Yeah,
it's another free. Take a look at two players' hands.
That's not so bad, I guess.
It's super strong. If you're playing like in a turbo combo deck with like necropotence and shit, like that's incredibly powerful tool to have. And we have our versions of that, which are still pretty strong.
I mean, just the fact that they're 1 mana cantrips is just good enough. But that was also like another conversation that I was having with House and Gator recently, which is just when you probe someone, that information's yours. No one should have it for free. And I think that's something that Lotad did to me, where he probed my hand and was slowly leaking out information throughout the rest of the game.
That's definitely how I would use a Git probe in general. I'll if they have like major threats in hand, I pretty much and I need that person to be the archenemy immediately and get the heat off of me. I'll be like, just letting you know they have the freed from the real in hand.
For sure, definitely.
But but everything else I'll keep to myself, but especially if it's interaction, because like I want my opponents to go for it. I want that interaction to be used on them, and I don't want them to know that they're going to get stopped right by the Gretchen player. So that way
just that's something that I'm still probably just won't ever get used to, is just like showing one opponent like a couple cards I have in my hand. I'll just be like, hey, I got this. Like, I think I've toyed around with the idea of it before, but at the same time, I'm just like, nah, that information's mine. I'd rather hold on to it.
It can be really critical though if you're trying to like get like one, if you think you're going to lose, obviously it's important, right? It's like if you don't have the interaction but you really need to convince someone to use theirs, maybe you need to show even your whole hand. It's possible.
No, that part makes sense. You just go like, guys, I have nothing, so we're gonna die. Please fire something off.
The other thing that I've done is like, if I need someone to.
So actually, you know what? Showing off your hand, I think right now is like the Gator special at this point. Where you show someone like, oh, a totally messed up hand, and Gator will just go like, yeah, I can't win off of this. I just need you guys to like fire stuff off.
It's a great tool.
And then he top decks to win. And I'm like, how does this happen all the time?
It works. It's a way of mitigating your own threat, of lowering your threat level at the table. The other thing that is also really great is like, if you need to like basically stacks the table down and slow the table down because you're playing a slower deck, which like I do, Another great tool could be like, I might have a lot of interaction, but I might not have my other combo pieces and stuff, right? So I could be like, you probably shouldn't go for it because I've got these cards.
Oh, yeah, that happened to me recently.
And I'll know that they might only have 2 cards in hand, or I might know their hand, right? Like they might know they can go for it. Like, don't.
Yeah, no, I had that happen to me recently where someone was like, "Oh, I wouldn't try to combo off for you. I have 2 pieces of removal in hand." And then later, like, Arabella was trying to kill me. I was like, "All right, sorry, I gotta go for my instant speed win." And then that person just didn't actually have the interaction, and everyone just died to me.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about. I'm talking about showing that you got the thing, right? Showing that you have the gun, right? Like, it's like, look, I got a gun.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I'm the dumbass who'll be like, all right, are you going to shoot it? I don't think you are.
I mean, obviously, if you're threatening with it, you should be able to. If you're threatening someone with like a bolt, and they call you on it, you should use it.
Yeah, but
otherwise you should keep it secret information.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's just like the natural, like, I guess, Florida counterplay to people trying to politic with us. We're just like, oh, you're going to show your balls? Present them to me.
Yeah, but I think and that's fine. Like, I would use that as a tool if I needed my opponent, who I know wants to go off, to hold a counterspell up for another player who also might win. But I can't stop both of them. So what I can promise, though, is I can stop the next person. You cannot win through what I've got. I can promise you that you can.
Yeah, that's again the other Gator special of, like, he'll say, I promise you will not win this game because I will stop you.
You cannot win on your turn. I promise you.
Yep.
And you can show it. And you're like, but you need to stop them. Otherwise they will win. So I can stop you and you can stop them. And that's how it has to be. Otherwise we will lose.
Yeah, and usually me, I'm like the third player in all of this. I'm just like, cool, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Being able to do those things and have those conversations, definitely, it's, in my opinion, apart from like knowing your deck and all the other things we talked about, that is the thing that sort of separates the really truly great Commander players from everybody else.
Yep, one day I'll get there.
Yeah, same, dude. I'm not even there. I'm not.
I mean, I'm still happy with my 2 top 4 finishes. Yep. I think we should be playing in the rule break, Common Cause 7. It's sometime at the end of January. I have to double check when.
If we're not commentating it, then we're playing it.
Yep, for sure.
Cool. Well, that kind of sums up all the common mistakes on the common theory. Common theory mistakes.
Yep. So everyone, it's the holiday season. We only have, a short time on this earth. So don't spend it on finding reasons to be angry or upset.
Short time on this earth. It got real dark.
Look, man, compared to how long trees are alive and compared to the rest of nature, was it 50 to 90 years? It's not that much, right? Go hug your wife, your husband, your significant other. Go spend time with your children and your pets. Go make some great memories of them. And you know what, everyone? Thank you so much for watching. You made it this far. Thank you for subscribe to our channel. Follow us over on Spotify. Subscribe to our Patreon to help support the channel and help pay for our editor. We're over on Blue Sky. We're hit over 300 followers over on TikTok for as long as that's going to be alive for. I don't know if I'm going to ever start a Lemonade. I don't know. That's still a decision. But YouTube Shorts is doing pretty well, so I'm not too worried. And with that, everyone, thank you so much. Have a happy holidays. Rohan, want to help me rattle off all of the December holidays? Because we got Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Lunar New Year is at the end of January this year.
Of course, you can never forget Festivus for the rest of us.
Yeah, I don't actually have my poll set up for that yet. Yeah, so if I miss out on any other December holidays, I'm sorry. I don't celebrate Life Day. I'm not a Wookiee. So with that, take care, everyone.
There you go.
Thank you for watching. And if you want to support the channel, please subscribe and join the Discord in our link below. And become a member over on our Patreon. Shout out to all of our patrons: Eric, Aaron, Dax, Devin, NYC Burrito, Little Red Lotad, Frank, Scoob, HZ, William, Paul, and JOD. Thank you for all of your support.